I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, February the 25th, brought to you in part by Norbrook. In today's tough economic environment, the wide availability of Norbrook's products offer livestock veterinarians and producers more convenient, economical solutions to manage the healthcare needs of their livestock. For more information, visit norbrook.com. Maybe next week. That's kind of getting old, but here we're going about 3 weeks now. We just can't seem to gain any ground. Everything's lining up that shows that we should be gaining significant ground in your fat cattle arena. Yet week after week after week, something happens, and it could be a black swan, it could be a storm, it could be or it could be shutdowns for maintenance in your packing plants or whatever it is. I'm not really sure what the excuse is this week. I guess because we didn't have a big slaughter last week, but we are having a big slaughter this week, so maybe next week. Oh, that's where I started out from. Yeah, every time it's maybe next week, we'll gain some more ground. You know, we look out at your out fronts on your live cattle futures, and we're thinking fat's at 120 something. Really? We can't get 115, and we've got opportunity to get 115 every week, but we end up saying maybe next week. We've got to get this Cattle Market Transparency Act pushed through. Every day, pretty much daily, I hear somebody talking about it in the interlinks of what's going on. That's Deb Fisher's mandated minimum negotiated cash requirement bill, and I tell you what, there's going to be a big push to get that deal done. You might think, well, we've got a change of administration, it's not going to happen. One thing the Democrats don't have a hard time doing is putting mandates on business. Now, are we proud of it? No. It's embarrassing that we have to do this, but we have to do it because when you're dealing with a total monopoly and it affects so many lives, and then later down the line, the consumers at such a high rate, you have to do something. And we absolutely have to do something, guys. It's time to get that done. The votes are there. I think it's going to happen. Support groups that support that. We have to have minimum mandated negotiated cash trade. And I think we're going to get it, and you guys watch. When we get into a period like this where we just can't seem to get over, 114, maybe some change here whenever we do something like have an online auction or a sealed bid or something like that. Once in a while we'll have a few pennies thrown at the deal to sweeten the pot. But for the most part, we can't get more than 114 for fat cattle when we're getting to the point where we're going to be short of fat cattle, and everything points in the direction that we should be gaining some ground and getting leverage. But every week we end up saying maybe next week. Let's look at the board. On Wednesday, February live cattle futures were actually up 95 cents, which enabled us to get back to the steady 114 because they were trying to beat it back to 113. But February live cattle futures, we're at the end of February here, and your February live cattle futures are 116.57, just barely right there at the cusp of making it worth delivering those cattle. But whenever we do have deliveries, like we had earlier this month, it brings your basis together, but it always just brings your board back down to where cash is. How about April live cattle futures up $1.02 at 122.22? Going out from there, your out fronts on live cattle up 67 to up $1.10. March feeder cattle up $1.80 at 140.37. April's up 2.15, and you're going out from there, they were up 67 to up $1.70. Grains have not backed off at all. I haven't talked about them for a few visits, but March corn at the middle of the week, 5.59.5. March beans on Wednesday up 17 3/4 at 14 1/4 almost a bushel, 14.23 3/4 of a cent. Getting out of hand, guys. Fat cattle trade We had our trade for the day probably. It established the market, and it's steady again, like I've been talking about for the last few minutes here. But Iowa confirmed sales on Wednesday, about 700 head at 114 and 180 to 181, broken record. Nebraska 1800 head, 114, 181. Kansas 1400 confirmed at 114, that was steady. Texas 2300, 114 and a few smidges at 114 and a quarter in a competitive bidding type setting. But just, it's getting old. Box beef cutout values 240.75 on choice on Wednesday afternoon. That was up 46. They just continue to gain ground on wholesale beef prices. They're going to get them up there instead of going down and bottoming plumb out before they start getting that early spring demand and to push the prices up. That they've just gone right through February, which is the toughest month, gaining ground. Select cuts 229.79, down 74 cents is all. And not that I want the wholesale beef prices to struggle. It's just share the love a little bit more. This is all-time record prices with the exception of a black swan like a year ago's price gouging that they did during the startup of the pandemic. This is all-time record price levels on wholesale beef for this time of year. And we can't get more than $1.14 for fat cattle. Slaughter, 362,000 so far for the week through Wednesday. That's 93,000 more than last week's disappointing kill due to the winter cold. Down just one from the same week a year ago, but we're looking at a big Saturday this year. Let's talk about what else is going on. I'd like to share with you a little bit what's going on in my life. I'm tired. I did not sleep last time I was supposed to have gone to bed. I got in the trailer line in San Antonio at the stock show there, and it's kind of a big deal on those big majors to get in line early so you can get your hogs unloaded before it gets hot the next day in the trailer. And and those cold temperatures from a week ago seem like a faint memory because it was getting hot down there in South Texas this week. But in the trailer line, and I tell you what, you think guys are struggling, with the economy and things. Just an absolute sea of new diesel pickups and aluminum trailers. Now, there would have been maybe less than 5% of those trailers that you could actually do a job with. Most of them were too short to stand up in, just made for pigs and show stock and things like that. But still, it's fun to do, and we went and we stood in line or sat in line there and dozed a little bit, but mostly sat outside the pickups and drank beer and visited with other guys. Was able to meet Kenny Mangus, owner of Cameron Sale Barn there in Texas, and never had met him before. We had a great visit there. Nice people everywhere. He's like me. Does he think that his kids are going to outduel somebody else on a show pig? No. He just wants to expose his kids to something positive that has at least an agriculture twist to it, and it gives them responsibility. That's the reason I did. But sat in that line until 7 in the morning when I had to get to the airport to catch my plane to Redmond, Oregon to get ready and set up for the Lorenzen Red Angus sale, and that's going to be at Central Oregon Livestock there in Madras, Oregon. That's Trent Stewart's sale. First time I was ever there. Got set up to take online bids there. Got really a keen sale there and neat and clean as a pin there. But looking forward to working that sale on Thursday. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DV auction. Late in the day on Wednesday at 138.54, down 74 cents, and just the sheer numbers continued to whittle away at that index level because there's some 800-pound cattle that'll bring $140. A slick load of them, in an instance where you had two buyers that were going against it. That's called competitive bidding, which we don't have in our fed cattle arena. But you can't do it on a consistent basis, especially when you throw in the small deals, the odds, the ones, the twos, and all that. And 138.54 based on an 800-pound steer up through your middle 12 states with your real-time index. That's about where it ought to be. I don't know where that CME cash feeder cattle index can be as high as it is on the average of all the 800-pound steers. That's kind of wild. But let's talk about your big feeder sales on Wednesday. OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma, 4,300 head there. Feeders steady to $2 higher compared to 2 weeks ago because they didn't have a sale last week. Stockers $3 to $10 higher. We've been seeing that all this week. Big sale, Dodge City, Kansas, winter livestock, 4,600 head there. The market reporter kind of punted the trend there, but did say that it was higher than the last time they had a sale. I guess he had no record of what the prices were the last time that they had a sale 2 weeks before, and then he could have done some simple arithmetic and told us what the trend was. Bassett, Nebraska had a sale, 4,500 head there. You look at your automated market report there from Cattle Market Central through DV Auction, and to me, on your best tested weights, which is the only place you can really find a trend where you have enough volume, the market kind of looks steady to $2 higher, straight across steers and heifers in your best tested weights, mind you. The market report there from Federal State Market News said that steers were sharply higher and heifers were sharply lower. I don't understand those numbers either. I think we just need to kind of go to this automated deal and go through there and quit hand-picking the ones that you want to call the trend on. But look at your best tested weights there out of Bassett, Nebraska, Bassett Livestock Auction, 750 head of 6-weight steers, average 648 at 158.54. That was up $1 on the weighted average compared to a week ago. 917 head, 753 pound average weight on the 7-weight steers, bring 146.76. That was $2 higher than the weighted average from previous week. 711 head of the 5-weight steers, average 559 at 154.05. That was down about 80 cents. Than the last weighted average price there on 5-weight heifers. How about 639 head of 6-weight heifers, average 640, 141.65, and that was absolutely steady. A couple of individual quotes. How about Twin Falls Livestock Commission, Jake Billington? I tell you what, he had a little spring in his step this week. I'm not sure what it was. Could have been something to do with a house guest he's had here recently, but anyway, kind of feeling his oats and had a pretty good sale there. Twin Falls Livestock Commission, Twin Falls, Idaho, sold 53 head, 523 pound steers at 189.50. Pretty impressive there. But the best quote that I saw anywhere on Wednesday, and your Zach Tran top quote for the day, comes from my old stomping grounds, St. Joe Stockyard, St. Joe, Missouri. The Yossi cattle out of Hiawatha, Kansas, 70 head, 725 pound steers, bring 157.25. And that's your feeder flash for Thursday.